I never told my husband about the $1.8 million my grandmother left me. For 18 years, I kept that secret buried deeper than wedding rings in a jewelry box. But here's the thing about secrets: sometimes they're not just hiding money. Sometimes they're hiding your escape route. I'm Emily Patterson, and this is the story of how I spent 18 years being invisible, 6 months planning my freedom, and one afternoon watching my carefully constructed exit strategy unfold exactly as I designed it. If you're listening to this from somewhere in America, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And ladies, if you've ever felt small in your own marriage, stay with me. This one's for you. The lawyer's office smelled like leather and old books. I remember that detail because I was drowning in details that Tuesday afternoon 20 years ago, trying not to cry in front of strangers. My grandmother Rose Chen, though she'd insisted I call her Grandma Rosie since I could talk, had passed away 3 days earlier. She was 83, sharp as a tack until the very end, and the only person who'd ever really seen me. Not the me I pretended to be. The real me. The reading of her will was small. Just me, my mother, and Mr. Howard Chen, no relation, despite the shared last name, her attorney of 40 years. Joseph hadn't come. He'd said he had an important client meeting, but really he'd never liked Grandma Rosie. She made him uncomfortable with her direct questions and the way she'd look at him like she could see straight through to his bones. She could, as it turned out. Mr. Howard adjusted his reading glasses and cleared his throat. To my granddaughter, Emily Rose Patterson née Miller, I leave the entirety of my investment portfolio, currently valued at approximately $1.8 million, held in a trust account at First National Bank of Cleveland. My mother gasped. I stopped breathing altogether. However, Mr. Howard continued, and I noticed his voice had softened, become almost gentle. There is a condition. Emily, your grandmother left specific instructions. I'm to read them verbatim. He pulled out a handwritten letter. I recognized Grandma Rosie's elegant cursive immediately, and my eyes filled with tears. My dearest Emily, if you're hearing this, I'm gone, and you're sitting in Howard's office, probably wondering what on earth I've done. Here's what I've done, sweetheart. I've given you freedom. This money comes with one unbreakable rule. Do not tell Joseph. Do not tell anyone who might tell Joseph. Not until you truly need it. And baby girl, you'll know when that moment comes. You'll know when you need this money, not for comfort, but for courage. I saw him, Emily. At your wedding, I saw the way he corrected you when you talked about your new job. I saw the way he steered you away from your friends when they got too loud, too happy. I saw a man who needs to control everything. And darling, you can't be truly loved by someone who needs to control you. I pray I'm wrong. I pray you have a beautiful marriage and never need this escape hatch. But if I'm right, and sweetheart, I'm usually right, this money will be waiting. It's already in a separate account under your maiden name at a bank across town from where you live. The account statements go to my address, which Howard will maintain for exactly this purpose. Don't spend it on new curtains. Don't use it to make him happy. Keep it hidden like a life raft on a sinking ship. You might never need it. But if you do, you'll have it. All my love, always, Grandma Rosie. The room was silent except for my mother's quiet crying. Mr. Howard handed me an envelope. The account information. Your grandmother set this up 7 years ago, Emily. She's been funding it little by little since you got married. She was quite certain about her concerns. I took the envelope with shaking hands. That night, Joseph asked how the will reading went. We were in our kitchen, the kitchen in the 2-story colonial in suburban Cleveland that he'd chosen in the neighborhood he'd preferred with the granite countertops he'd picked out. Fine, I said, stirring pasta sauce. Grandma left me some jewelry in her china set. He barely looked up from his laptop. That's nice, honey. Will you be done with dinner soon? I have a conference call at 7. I lied to my husband for the first time that night. It wouldn't be the last time. But here's what I didn't know. Then Grandma Rosie had given me more than money. She'd given me permission to see my marriage clearly. And once you see clearly, you can't unsee. Let me paint you a picture of my life with Joseph Patterson. We met when I was 26, both of us junior accountants at Benson & Phillips. I was good at my job, really good. I'd made senior accountant in 3 years, which was almost unheard of. Joseph was 2 years older, already gunning for manager, and when he asked me to dinner, I felt chosen. Special. He was handsome in that clean-cut country club way. Good family ambitious, talked about partnership tracks and retirement plans. My mother loved him. My friends thought I'd won the lottery. We dated for 2 years. Got married in a ceremony that, looking back, was more about impressing his colleagues than celebrating us. I was 28, wearing a dress his mother had helped choose, promising to love and cherish a man I thought I knew. The first 3 years were okay. Not great, but okay. We were both working, both busy. Then Joseph made partner at 33, and that's when the conversation started. He said one night over takeout Thai food, I've been thinking, with my new salary, we don't really need 2 incomes, and honestly, trying to coordinate 2 careers is exhausting. What if you took a step back? Manage the home front, it would make both our lives easier. I should have said no, but he made it sound so reasonable, so practical, and I was tired, exhausted from trying to prove myself in a male-dominated firm, while also being the wife who had dinner ready and the house clean and the social calendar managed. Just for a while, I asked. Just until we figure things out, he promised. I quit my job 3 months later. That was 15 years ago. We never did figure things out. Here's what I learned about control. It doesn't come all at once. It's not dramatic. It's 1,000 tiny adjustments, each one small enough that you don't notice you're being reshaped. Joseph managed all our finances. I'm the CPA, he'd say. It's literally my job. Joseph chose our cars. I research consumer reports. You hate reading that stuff. Joseph decided our social life. Honey, you know you get anxious in big groups. I'm protecting you. Joseph controlled what I wore to his firm events. That dress is a bit much. The blue one is more appropriate. By year 5, I'd stopped having opinions. By year 10, I'd stopped having friends. By year 15, I'd almost stopped having a self. But I had 1.8 million that Joseph didn't know about. And 6 months ago, that changed everything. It started with a credit card statement. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. Joseph left his American Express bill on the kitchen counter while he showered. I was clearing breakfast dishes when I saw it. Mystique Jewelers, $4 200 La Maison Restaurant, $340. The Ritz-Carlton, $890. Mystique Jewelers again, $2,800. Our anniversary was in June. This was February. My birthday wasn't until September. And I'd never been to La Maison. It was the fancy French place downtown that Joseph always said was overpriced and pretentious. I stood there with that statement in my hand, and something inside me just clicked. I took a photo with my phone. Then I put the statement back exactly where Joseph had left it. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in 10 years. I went to lunch with Linda Morrison. Linda and I had been friends since college. She ran a women's charity and had invited me to lunch at least once a month for the past decade. I'd said no every time Joseph thought charity work was amateur hour networking, and he didn't like Linda's aggressive feminism. Emily, Linda nearly knocked over her water glass when I walked into the cafe. Oh my God, you actually came. I actually came, I said and burst into tears. Linda let me cry for 5 minutes straight, then slid a napkin across the table. Tell me everything. So I did. Not everything, not about Grandma Rosie's money, not yet, but enough. The isolation, the control, the credit card charges for jewelry I'd never received. Emily, Linda said carefully, do you think Joseph is having an affair? I don't know, I whispered. Maybe, probably. Does it even matter? What do you mean? I mean, even if he's not, do I want to stay in this marriage? Do I want to spend the next 30 years making myself smaller so he can feel bigger? Linda reached across the table and squeezed my hand. What do you need? A good divorce attorney, I said. The best one you know. Linda smiled. I know exactly who you need. Her name is Rebecca Hayes, and she destroys men like Joseph for breakfast. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've been living a double life. On the surface, perfect wife Emily. Up at 5:30, breakfast ready. By 6:15, house spotless, dinner at 7. Smile, nod, agree, defer. Underneath, Detective Emily. I photographed every credit card statement. I documented every late night, every unexplained absence, every time Joseph came home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I kept a detailed journal in a cloud account Joseph didn't know existed, and I hired a private investigator. Sarah Mitchell was worth every penny of her $200 an hour rate. She was 38, former military intelligence, and she found out more about my husband in 2 weeks than I'd learned in 18 years. Her report, delivered in a manila envelope at a Starbucks 3 towns over, included: name Lauren Reynolds, 34, marketing director at Whitmore & Associates. Duration of affair, 14 months. Frequency of meetings, 3 to 4 times per week. Apartment 2-bedroom condo in downtown Cleveland. $2,800 month rent paid by Joseph Patterson. Estimated expenses, $47,000 over 14 months, $47,000. Of our marital money. On a woman I'd never heard of. I sat in my car reading Sarah's report, and I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt clear, like I'd been looking through fog for 18 years and suddenly the sun had burned it all away. I called Rebecca Hayes. "Emily," she answered on the second ring. Linda had prepared her. "Are you ready?" "Not yet," I said. "But soon. I need you to tell me exactly what to do, and I need you to help me do it perfectly." "That," Rebecca said, and I could hear the smile in her voice, "is exactly what I do. Tuesday, March 15th. I'll remember that date for the rest of my life." Sarah had called me that morning. "Emily, they're planning something. Lauren just took the day off work and Joseph blocked out his entire afternoon on his calendar. I think they're meeting at your house." "My house?" My voice came out stramper than I'd intended. "Lauren's been looking at Pinterest boards for home renovation, living rooms specifically. Emily, I think she's coming to look at the house, to plan changes. They were going to redecorate my home, the home I'd maintained for 18 years. They were going to erase me before I was even gone." "Sarah," I said slowly, "I need you to do something for me. Anything. Call Michael Patterson. Tell him his daughter-in-law needs him at the house at 2:30. Tell him it's urgent, but don't tell him why." Michael was Joseph's father, a 75-year-old Vietnam veteran who'd never quite approved of how his son treated me. We had breakfast together once a month, something Joseph didn't know about or would have forbidden if he did. "You're bringing in the father." Sarah sounded impressed. "Emily, that's brilliant. My grandmother taught me," I said, "that the best battles are won before they're ever fought." I spent the morning cleaning a house that was already immaculate. Routine kept my hands steady, kept my mind from racing too far ahead. At one hosiery, I took out 3 coffee mugs, the good ones from the set Grandma Rosie had left me. At 2 hosiery, I heard Joseph's car in the driveway, then a second car, a silver BMW I didn't recognize. I walked to the window and watched them get out together. Joseph was laughing at something Lauren had said. She was beautiful in that polished professional way, auburn hair, expensive burgundy dress, confident stride. They walked up to my front door. Joseph used his key. I heard them in the foyer. "The living room is through here," Joseph was saying. "I think if we knock out this wall." I stepped into the hallway. "Hi, honey. You're home early?" Joseph jumped, literally jumped. "Emily, I thought you had volunteering today." "That's Thursday," I said calmly. "Tuesdays I'm always home. You know that." Lauren had recovered faster than Joseph. She extended her hand with a brilliant smile. "You must be Emily. I'm Lauren Reynolds. Joseph's been helping me with a consulting project, and I asked if I could see examples of good home design. He said you have wonderful taste." The lie was so smooth, so practiced. I took her hand. "How lovely," I said. "Would you like some coffee? I just put a pot on." I saw the flicker of confusion in Joseph's eyes. He'd expected tears, accusations, drama. This calm hospitality was throwing him off. "Coffee would be wonderful," Lauren said. I went to the kitchen, leaving them whispering frantically in the living room. I was pouring coffee into 3 mugs when I heard the third car. Right on time. The doorbell rang. I heard Joseph answer it. Then his voice strangled, "Dad, what are you doing here?" Michael Patterson's deep voice carried through the house. "Emily called. Said she needed me. Son, what's going on? Who's the woman in your living room?" I carried the coffee tray out. The scene was perfect. Joseph pale and panicking. Lauren calculating her exit, and Michael standing in his worn veteran's cap looking at his son with an expression of deep disappointment. "Hi, Michael," I said warmly. "Thank you for coming. I thought you should be here for this." "For what, sweetheart?" Michael asked gently. I set down the tray and looked at Joseph. Really looked at him maybe for the first time in years. "For the conversation where Joseph explains why his consulting colleague needs to see our living room," I said. "Or for the truth about why he spent $47,000 on her over the past 14 months. Whichever conversation we're having, I thought his father should hear it." Lauren's perfect composure cracked. "I should go?" "Yes," Michael said flatly, not taking his eyes off Joseph. "You should." She grabbed her purse and fled. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot in the silent room. Joseph found his voice. "Emily, I can explain." "No," I interrupted. You can't. There's no explanation that makes this acceptable, Joseph. But that's okay, because I've had 6 months to prepare for this moment and I don't need your explanations anymore. 6 months. His face went even paler. You've known for 6 months. I've been watching, I said simply. Learning, planning. You taught me patience, Joseph. You taught me to be quiet and observe. I'm just using those skills now. Michael sank into a chair. Son, he said, his voice heavy with disappointment. What have you done? I looked at Joseph, my husband of 18 years, the man who'd slowly erased me, and felt nothing but pity. I'm going to stay at Linda's for a few days, I said. My attorney will contact yours about property access. Michael, would you like to stay for coffee? I'd love to catch up. I'd like that very much, Michael said quietly. I walked past Joseph without another word, picked up my overnight bag packed that morning, and left. I didn't look back. Rebecca Hayes's office was everything Joseph's wasn't: warm wood instead of cold steel plants on every surface, and photographs of smiling clients on the walls instead of certificates and awards. But don't let the coziness fool you. Rebecca was a predator in pearls, and her track record spoke for itself. 127 divorce cases, 119 victories, and a reputation for leaving opposing counsel bleeding on the courtroom floor. I sat across from her desk at 8 o'clock the next morning, still wearing yesterday's clothes, exhausted but strangely energized. Michael had stayed at the house until 9 the previous night, and we'd really talked for the first time in years. He'd apologized for his son. I told him it wasn't his fault. We'd both cried a little. Coffee, Rebecca offered, gesturing to a French press that looked like it cost more than my first car. Please. She poured 2 cups, then settled back in her chair and studied me with sharp green eyes. So, how do you feel? Like I just jumped off a cliff, I admitted, but also like I can finally breathe. Good answer. She opened a leather portfolio. Linda filled me in on the basics 6 months ago, but I need details now. Everything, Emily. Don't hold back because you think it's not important, or because it embarrasses you. I need to know what we're working with. I reached into my bag and pulled out a cardboard file box. Rebecca's eyebrows rose. I've been preparing, I said simply. Inside the box, 18 months of credit card statements, all photographed and organized by date. Sarah Mitchell's complete surveillance reports, including 247 photographs of Joseph and Lauren together. A detailed journal documenting every instance of emotional manipulation, control, and gaslighting over the past 6 years. Bank statements showing joint account balances, and a flash drive containing every digital record I could access. Rebecca pulled the box closer and started going through it methodically. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Her expression grew sharper with each page. Finally, she looked up. Emily, you've built a better case file than most attorneys I know. This is comprehensive, doesn't even cover it. I was an accountant, I said. I know how to document. Clearly. She held up one of Sarah's reports. 47,000 in 14 months, but I'm seeing some charges here that are particularly interesting. Emily, look at this. She pointed to a bank statement from Joseph's personal checking account, one I wasn't supposed to know about. A transfer of $50,000 to an account I didn't recognize. What is that? I asked. Rebecca's fingers flew across her keyboard. Give me a minute. She made 3 phone calls, each one shorter and more cryptic than the last. Then she sat back with a smile that made my blood run cold. Your husband, she said slowly, has been planning ahead. That's a transfer to a Cayman Islands account opened 8 months ago. And unless I'm very much mistaken, she clicked through a few more screens. He's transferred a total of $230,000 to that account. The room tilted. $230,000, that's almost half our retirement savings. Exactly. He's been hiding assets, Emily. Preparing for a divorce by moving money where you supposedly can't touch it. She leaned forward. But here's the beautiful thing he thinks you don't know. He thinks you're still the passive little wife who doesn't look at bank statements, and that gives us leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind where we let him think he's winning until the moment we destroy him. Rebecca pulled out a fresh legal pad. Here's what's going to happen. Joseph will file for divorce first, probably in the next week. He'll feel like he's controlling the narrative. We're going to let him. Let him? I felt my stomach clench. But trust me, when Joseph files, he'll have to disclose his assets. All of them. And when he doesn't disclose that Cayman account, and he won't because he's arrogant, we'll have him for fraud and perjury. We'll file a motion for full financial discovery, and the court will order him to reveal everything. Every bank account, every credit card, every investment. And when we find that hidden money, she smiled, we'll own him, Emily. I took a shaky breath. How long will this take? 6 to 8 weeks if we're lucky. 3 months if he fights. But Emily, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be completely honest. She set down her pen and looked at me directly. What do you want from this divorce? Do you want justice or do you want revenge? The question hung in the air between us. I thought about 18 years of being dismissed, of making myself smaller, of watching my career die, my friendships fade, my identity dissolve. I thought about $47,000 spent on another woman while Joseph complained about me spending $80 on a haircut. I want him to understand, I said finally, that he made a terrible mistake, not in having the affair that's almost beside the point. I want him to understand that he spent 18 years underestimating me, and that was the biggest error of his life. Rebecca's smile was fierce. Emily Patterson, I'm going to enjoy working with you. 2 weeks later, Joseph filed for divorce. The papers were delivered to Linda's house where I was still staying. I read them over breakfast, and I'll admit they stung. Not because of the divorce itself, I wanted that, but because of how Joseph had framed the narrative. Irreconcilable differences due to the respondent's increasing emotional instability and refusal to seek help for her mental health issues. My mental health issues. That was his angle. I called Rebecca immediately. I saw, she said before I could speak. Take a breath. This is exactly what we expected. He's claiming I'm unstable, He's establishing a narrative where he's the reasonable party and you're the difficult one. It's textbook controlling spouse behavior. They gaslight you for years, then call you crazy when you finally react. Her voice turned razor sharp. But we have 18 months of documentation showing you were clear-headed enough to build an airtight case. No judge is going to buy the unstable wife story when you walk in with organized evidence and a calm demeanor. She was right. I knew she was right. But it still hurt. His attorney is Bradley Thompson, Rebecca continued. Old school aggressive thinks women are emotional creatures who can't handle hardball. He's going to underestimate you, which is perfect. What happens now? Now we respond. We agree to mediation, make it look like you're trying to be cooperative. Bradley will think he can bully you into a quick settlement. And while he's thinking that Sarah continues surveillance and I start drafting our nuclear option. Nuclear option, full discovery motion with prejudice. But we save that for the right moment. I could hear her smiling through the phone. Trust the process, Emily, and trust yourself. You've been preparing for this for 6 months. You're ready. I wasn't sure I believed her, but I wanted to. The mediation took place in a conference room at a neutral location, one of those corporate rental spaces with beige walls and uncomfortable chairs designed to make you want to settle quickly and leave. I arrived early wearing a navy dress that was professional but not threatening, minimal makeup, hair pulled back simply. I looked exactly like what Joseph expected the mousy housewife, a little scared, a little lost. Rebecca had coached me for hours. Let Bradley think he's winning. Look uncertain. Hesitate before answering. Ask to take breaks. We want them confident, Emily. Overconfident people make mistakes. Joseph arrived with Bradley Thompson, who was exactly what I'd imagined, 60s expensive suit, condescending smile. He shook my hand like he was doing me a favor. Mrs. Patterson, I'm sorry we have to meet under these circumstances. I'm sure we can work something out that's fair for everyone. Translation, I'm going to steamroll you, and you're going to thank me for it. The mediation started. Bradley laid out Joseph's offer. My client is prepared to be generous. Mrs. Patterson would receive the house, though she'd be responsible for the remaining mortgage, of course. We're looking at approximately $300,000 in total settlement, which includes her portion of savings and retirement accounts. No spousal support given that the marriage ended due to her unwillingness to address her mental health concerns. $300,000. Out of assets worth at least $900,000, not counting the money Joseph had hidden. Rebecca looked at me. I played my part perfectly. I don't know if that's... I let my voice trail off, uncertain. That seems like a lot less than half. Bradley's smile widened. Mrs. Patterson, divorce is expensive. Legal fees, the cost of maintaining 2 households. The emotional toll, sometimes it's better to settle quickly and move forward with your life. $300,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Could I have a moment? I asked, my voice small. This is all so overwhelming. Of course, Bradley said magnanimously. Rebecca and I stepped into the hallway. The moment the door closed, my posture changed. Rebecca grinned. Oscar-worthy, she whispered. Did you see his face? He thinks I'm going to cave. Perfect. Let's take 15 minutes. Let them think you're struggling with the decision. Then we'll go back and tell them you need time to think. String this out another week while Sarah finishes her investigation. We did exactly that. When we returned, I agreed to consider the offer, but needed more time. Bradley looked pleased. Joseph looked relieved. Sarah called me 4 days later, her voice tight with excitement. Emily, I found something big. What the? I've been tracking Joseph's accounts like Rebecca requested, right? Following the money. That $230,000 in the Cayman account, I found where it went. My heart started pounding. Where $180,000 of it was transferred to Lauren Reynolds' personal checking account, in 3 separate payments over the past 6 months. I sat down hard on Linda's couch. He gave her $180,000. It gets better, or worse depending on your perspective. Lauren then used that money to buy a condo, not in both their names, just hers. She basically had Joseph finance her real estate investment. Oh my God. Emily, he's not just having an affair. He's being used. This woman saw a wealthy, unhappy married man and she played him like a fiddle. I should have felt vindicated. Triumphant even. Instead, I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Joseph had betrayed me, yes, but he was also being manipulated by someone who saw him as nothing more than a bank account. There's more, Sarah said quietly. I did some digging into Lauren's social media. Her private Instagram took me a while to get access. Emily, she's engaged. What engaged to a man named Trevor Walsh? He's a CEO, makes about $800,000 a year. They've been together for 2 years. There are photos of them together with her wearing an engagement ring dating back to before she even met Joseph. The pieces clicked into place with devastating clarity. She's running 2 relationships, I said slowly. Joseph is her, what, side investment backup plan? Looks like it. Trevor's the main relationship. Joseph is the cash cow who bought her a condo while she plans her wedding to someone else. I thought about Joseph's face in our living room when Lauren had fled. The panic, the desperation. He thought he was in love with her. He thought they had a future. Sarah, blah. I said, send everything to Rebecca. Every bank transfer, every photo, every piece of evidence. Already done. Emily, are you okay? My husband had betrayed me for a woman who was betraying him. There was a poetic justice in it, but it felt hollow. I'm fine, I said. I'm just realizing that maybe Joseph and I were both victims, just of different people. The deposition happened on a Wednesday morning in Rebecca's conference room. Joseph Bradley, Rebecca, me, and a court reporter whose fingers flew across her stenography machine like she was playing a violent piano. Rebecca had warned me. This is where we start tightening the noose. I'm going to ask questions that seem routine, but watch Joseph's face. Watch him lie, and then watch me destroy him, she started softly. Questions about assets, income, normal financial disclosure stuff. Joseph answered confidently, Bradley occasionally interjecting to clarify legal points. Then Rebecca shifted gears. Mr. Patterson, do you have any bank accounts that are not held jointly with your wife? Just my personal checking account at First National. No other accounts, perhaps at other banks, other institutions. A pause. Just a fraction of a second. But I saw it. Joseph glanced at Bradley. No, just the one. Rebecca made a note. And have you made any large financial transfers in the past 12 months? Define large. Let's say anything over 10,000. Another pause. I'd have to check my records. Rebecca smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Let me help refresh your memory. She slid a document across the table. This is a transfer record for $50,000 from your personal checking account to an account at Cayman National Bank, dated 8 months ago. Do you recall that transfer, Mr. Patterson? The color drained from Joseph's face. Bradley grabbed the document. Where did you get this? Bradley demanded. Discovery. It's all legal and admissible. Rebecca slid another document. Here's another transfer. $80,000, and another. $100,000. Total of $230,000 moved to an offshore account that you failed to disclose in your financial affidavit. I can explain, Joseph started. Please do, Rebecca said pleasantly. Explain to me why you moved nearly $250,000 in marital assets to a hidden account while filing for divorce and claiming you needed to give your wife less than half of the disclosed assets. Bradley put his hand on Joseph's arm. Don't answer that. Oh, he's going to answer, Rebecca said, her voice turning to steel. Because we're not done. Mr. Patterson, do you know a woman named Lauren Reynolds? Joseph's face went from pale to ashen. She's a colleague. A colleague to whom you've given $180,000 over the past 6 months. Interesting colleague relationship. Rebecca pulled out more documents. Here are the transfer records. 3 payments from your Cayman account to Ms. Reynolds' personal checking. $60,000, $65,000, $55,000. This is a witch hunt, Bradley began. This is fraud, Rebecca cut him off. Your client moved marital assets to hide them, then gave most of that money to his mistress, who used it to purchase real estate in her name only. That's dissipation of marital assets and perjury on his financial disclosure. I watched Joseph crumble. His hands were shaking. He looked at me for the first time since the deposition started, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before: fear. Emily, he started. Don't address my client, Rebecca said sharply. Mr. Patterson, let me show you one more thing. She pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and turned it toward Joseph. On the screen, Lauren Reynolds and Trevor Walsh, arms around each other, her hand prominently displaying an engagement ring. The photo was dated 3 months ago. The caption, "Cannot wait to marry my best friend June, wedding here we come." Joseph stared at the screen. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Your colleague, Rebecca said softly, is engaged to another man, has been for over a year. While you were giving her $180,000 of your marital assets, she was planning her wedding to a CEO named Trevor Walsh. You weren't her boyfriend, Mr. Patterson. You were her ATM. The silence in the room was absolute. Then Joseph made a sound, half sob, half laugh, utterly broken. She told me, she said Trevor was just a business partner. She said... Bradley put his head in his hands. I sat there watching my husband, the man who'd controlled every aspect of my life for 18 years, realize that he'd been controlled by someone else, that he'd been manipulated, used, discarded. And I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction. Just a hollow sense of waste. Rebecca gathered her documents. Gentlemen, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go back to your office and recalculate your settlement offer. My client is entitled to half of all marital assets, including the $230,000 you tried to hide. She's entitled to reimbursement of the $180,000 you gave to your mistress. And she's entitled to spousal support for at least 7 years, given that you convinced her to give up her career to support yours. That's over $1 million, Bradley said weakly. That's justice, Rebecca corrected. You have 48 hours to present a reasonable offer. Or we go to trial, and I promise you, Mr. Thompson, every sordid detail of your client's affair, financial fraud and stupidity will be public record. Do you really want Joseph's partners to read about how he was catfished by a woman half his age while embezzling marital funds? Bradley looked at Joseph, who was still staring at the photo of Lauren and Trevor. We'll be in touch, Bradley said quietly. The deposition was over. Rebecca and I sat in her office afterward. She poured 2 glasses of scotch. It was barely noon, but some moments call for breaking rules. How do you feel? She asked. I took a sip. The scotch burned going down. Tired. Sad. Is that weird? Shouldn't I feel victorious? Emily, you're not a cruel person. You just witnessed your husband's entire world collapse. It's okay to feel compassion even for someone who hurt you. He destroyed our marriage for a woman who was using him. He destroyed your marriage the moment he started controlling you, Rebecca corrected gently. Lauren was just the symptom, not the disease. Joseph has issues that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with his need to dominate. Lauren exploited that need for her own gain. I thought about that. About 18 years of being managed, directed, controlled. About Joseph believing he knew best, deciding he was entitled to make choices for both of us. He never saw me, I said quietly. Never really saw me. And I let him. For 18 years I let him. You survived, Rebecca said firmly. You kept yourself intact enough that when the moment came, you could fight back. Don't diminish that, Emily. You're stronger than you know. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Can we talk? I spoke to Joseph. He's a mess. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I showed it to Rebecca. Joseph's father. We've been close. How do you feel about that relationship? Michael is a good man. He's ashamed of his son, but he's not his son. I don't want to lose him. Then don't, Rebecca said simply. You get to choose what parts of your old life you keep. That's what freedom means. Freedom. The word hung in the air like a promise. My phone buzzed again. This time an unknown number. Mrs. Patterson, this is Bradley Thompson. My client would like to discuss settlement terms. Are you available tomorrow morning? I looked at Rebecca. She nodded. I typed back 10 a.m. at my attorney's office. Here we go, Rebecca said, raising her glass. The end game. We clinked glasses and I felt something shift inside me. Not quite happiness, not quite peace, but something like hope. For the first time in 18 years, I was writing my own story, and I was going to make sure it had the ending I deserved. The conference room felt different this time. Same beige walls, same chairs, but the power had shifted so completely that even the air felt changed. Joseph looked like he'd aged 10 years. Wrinkled suit, hollow eyes couldn't meet my gaze. Bradley Thompson sat beside him with the resigned expression of a lawyer who knows he's lost. Rebecca laid out our terms with surgical precision. $650,000 total settlement. The house to Mrs. Patterson mortgage-free. Mr. Patterson pays off the balance. Half of all retirement accounts, including the Cayman funds. Full reimbursement of the $180,000 given to Ms. Reynolds. Spousal support of $3,000 monthly for 7 years. Bradley started to object, but Joseph stopped him. It's fair, Joseph said quietly. More than fair, considering I should have felt triumphant. Instead, something unexpected stirred inside me. I have one more condition, I said. Everyone looked at me. Rebecca's eyebrow raised. We hadn't discussed this. I want Joseph to write a letter to his father, a real letter taking full responsibility, and I want him in therapy for 1 year. Proof required receipts from a licensed therapist minimum twice monthly. Bradley blinked. I'm sorry, what? You heard me. You heard. Those are my conditions. Joseph finally looked at me. Why? Because Michael deserves a better son, and because your next partner deserves a better man than who you are now. I kept my voice steady. I won't get revenge by destroying you, Joseph. I'll get it by forcing you to become better. Silence filled the room. Joseph's voice cracked. After everything I did, you're trying to help me. I'm not helping you, I said firmly. I'm helping your future partner. I'm helping your father. I'm helping the next woman who might spend 18 years disappearing because you need to control everything. I leaned forward. You destroyed me, Joseph. I won't let you destroy anyone else. Rebecca stared at me with something like awe. Bradley cleared his throat. My client accepts. All of it, I pressed. The letter, the therapy, everything. Joseph nodded, eyes wet. All of it. Emily, I'm sorry. I know it's not. Save it for your therapist, I interrupted. We're done here. 6 weeks later, Judge Matthews reviewed our settlement agreement, asked if we both understood and agreed, and signed the decree. 18 years ended with a gavel strike and a manila folder. I walked out into brilliant April sunshine. Rebecca walked beside me, heels clicking on marble. In 20 years of law, she said, I've never seen anyone do what you did. What's that? Choose growth over revenge. Most people want to grind their ex into dust. You chose to make him better. It wasn't altruism. I couldn't stand the thought of him doing this to someone else. Still, it was remarkable. Rebecca paused at her car. What will you do now? I thought about the house that was finally mine, the $650,000 settlement, the $2.1 million Joseph never knew about freedom stretching ahead like an open road. Live, I said simply. Finally, actually live. My home office smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. I'd renovated everything, knocked out walls Joseph would never have approved, painted in colors he would have hated, filled rooms with light and life. Patterson Financial Recovery Services was thriving. 23 clients in the first year helping women through divorce, teaching them to understand finances, spot hidden assets, protect themselves. I'd traveled to Vietnam to Grandma Rosie's homeland, scattered her ashes where she was born. I'd cried healing tears and felt her with me the whole time. I'd reconnected with friends, joined a book club, started painting again, something I'd abandoned when Joseph called it impractical. The doorbell rang. Michael Patterson stood there holding wine and wearing a nervous smile. "Monthly dinner. Come in." I hugged him. I made pot roast. Over dinner, Michael updated me, his garden, his veterans group, and Joseph. "He's doing better," Michael said carefully. "The therapy is working. He's different, softer, more aware." "I'm glad. He's seeing someone new. Claire, another therapist, not his therapist. She's 48 strong, doesn't take his nonsense." Michael smiled. "They're expecting a baby, using a surrogate. Good for him. He asked me to give you this." Michael handed me an envelope. Joseph's handwriting, "Emily, I'm getting married. I wanted you to hear it from me. Claire is everything I didn't know I needed, someone who calls me on my behavior, who doesn't let me hide. We're having a baby. I had the vasectomy reversed after therapy helped me realize not wanting children was about control. Everything was always about control. I'll never forgive myself for the 18 years I made you smaller so I could feel bigger. My therapist says I can't change the past, but I can change who I am going forward. Thank you for forcing me to do that, for not letting me stay the man who destroyed you. You told me sorry doesn't change the past, only shapes the future. I'm shaping a different future now." "Joseph," I set the letter down, surprised by tears. "You okay?" Michael asked. "I'm fine. Just glad he's becoming who he should have been." "You gave him that gift." "I gave myself that gift too," I corrected. I needed to know I could choose compassion over cruelty. 3 weeks later at Linda's charity fundraiser, I met David Miller, 52 high school English teacher standing alone looking overwhelmed. I recognized the expression. "First time?" I asked, handing him wine. He smiled gratefully. "That obvious?" We talked for 2 hours. David was a widower wife, died of cancer 3 years ago. 2 adult daughters, taught literature, loved old movies and terrible puns. He didn't try to fix me, didn't try to manage me, just talked to me like I was worth knowing. When he asked for my number, I gave it. Our first date was coffee. Second was a movie. Third was a long walk talking about grief and growth and rebuilding. He was nothing like Joseph, nothing like my fantasy of post-divorce life. He was better, real, present, kind. I sat in my sun-filled living room, my house, my life, and thought about everything that brought me here. Joseph's control, Lauren's betrayal, Rebecca's advocacy, Michael's love, Grandma Rosie's gift, my own journey from invisible to invincible. Real revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's building a life so good that your past becomes irrelevant. Joseph was married, having a baby, becoming better. Lauren had lost everything, moved away. I rarely thought about her. I was running a successful business, traveling, painting, maybe falling in love with a kind man who treated me as an equal. Grandma Rosie's $2.1 million sat mostly untouched. I was creating the Rose Chen Freedom Scholarship for women over 40 returning to college after divorce or widowhood. The money had given me courage. Now I'd give other women the same gift. 18 years disappearing. 18 months rebuilding. The math didn't balance, but healing isn't about time. It's about choice. I chose myself, finally, completely, unapologetically. And that changed everything.